Hi, I'm Lori Barnes, the astrologer who helps people find their true calling and take action towards manifesting it. I'm going to start off with the date and time of the upcoming Cancer full moon. It takes place on either Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on where you live, so December 26th or 27th. And if you're on the west coast of the US, it'll be at 4:33 p.m. And if you're on the east coast of the US, it'll be at 7:33 p.m. on Tuesday. And then if you're in Rome, Italy, where I am usually broadcasting from, it'll be at 1:33 a.m. on December 27th, and that'll be Wednesday. And it's taking place at 4 degrees of Cancer. So let's get started. The full moon is in the sign of Cancer. This year, the full moon happens after the solstice. The solstice was December 21st, is the Thursday. And this is the time of the year where we have the shortest day in the Northern Hemisphere and the longest night. The days are quite dark where I am. Now, if you're down under, if you're down in the Southern Hemisphere, it's the opposite. This marks the time of the year when you have your longest days and shortest nights. And I like to use the symbolism of the solstices and equinoxes as reminders for us to look at how we manage balance in our life. The solstices, they show us like the extreme end of imbalance through, the amount of light and darkness we experience. And then the equinoxes, they show us the balance, and they do that through showing us like equal amounts of light and darkness, or sunlight and moonlight. Every year around this time, we have the solstice, the Capricorn solstice, that happens around the time of the Cancer full moon. That means that the sun is in the opposite sign of Capricorn. Cancer, the full moon sign, is a water sign known for its qualities of nurturing or sentimentality and sensitivity. And the shadow side of Cancer could be to approach things indirectly, kind of moving sideways like the crab, and potentially some passive aggression type of behavior. Now, I'm not saying everyone does that, but that's more of the shadow side. The sign of Capricorn, where the sun is traveling through, is a sign that is an earth sign, and it's known for discipline, creating structure, and boundary setting. The shadow side of Capricorn could be some rigidity and controlling behavior. The moon, the full moon, is shining the light that it's taking in from the sun. So it's important to look at both of those lights and the signs they're traveling through. Now, the signs Cancer and Capricorn are both cardinal signs. Cardinal signs take active leadership roles. As a water and cardinal sign, Cancer isn't going to hesitate to take action, and it has the advantage of intuition. And that means that placements in your chart in Cancer have the tendency to act quick based on a hunch or what they feel is the right thing to do. And keeping in mind that Cancer may move more indirectly. So it doesn't hesitate to take action. It just may not be direct action. But on the positive side, Cancer can tend to take action quickly because it doesn't have to stop and think, right? It's going based on its own intuition, emotion, which is associated with water, Cancer's element. We want to keep in mind that the full moon in Cancer comes at a time when Mercury is retrograde, and the full moon is happening just after the holidays. And of course, we're living in this age of technology where there's this never-ending stream of input from television, your computers, plural, because many people have more than one, phones, watches, even our appliances in our houses can talk to us. So it's no surprise that we can find ourselves busier and more tired than ever. And then we throw the holidays in, and it's just really, really busy. So Mercury retrograde is a time best used for reviewing, refining, and realigning things that have already started. So whether you have a project going on, or there's an unresolved issue in a relationship, maybe you're starting a new business or going to a new phase of business, whatever's on your plate right now, it's a good time to take a pause and reflect back. It's the holidays, so hopefully you have some time off and you can carve out some time from your schedule to do that. I know that holidays, even if you have time off, then you have to go do a bunch of things with family or friends, but still, if you can, right after the Christmas holiday, or if you celebrate Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, whatever culture or tradition you do in your family, hopefully you have some time off, and then you can take some of that time for yourself to reflect, review, and realign. I always recommend that you look at your chart when listening to my video, or if you read my blog, or any other astrology report that you follow. It's always good to look at your chart, because you're going to want to look at the signs that are activated by the planets moving through them at any particular time period. You're going to get a lot more personalized information if you're looking at your chart. If you don't have your chart in front of you, if you don't have it memorized, or if you've never seen a copy of your chart, go get it. And you can get a free one at astro.com or astro-seek.com and take a look at it. And then look at particularly the signs that are activated during the Cancer full moon. And I have a blog on the houses, so if you're not sure, you can click the link below and read that. So the signs activated at this Cancer full moon are, of course, Cancer, the sign of the moon, and Capricorn, the sign of the sun. Of course, the sun is shining its light on the moon through Capricorn. And then the sign Sagittarius, because that's where Mars and Mercury are. That's where the Mercury retrograde is. And Mars is right there with Mercury at the full moon. So this makes it more full of energy in terms of the thinking, because Mars is right there pushing energy into Mercury. And so you may find that your thinking processes are kind of on fire, because Sagittarius is a fire sign. Full moons generally are about releasing, culminations. They can be about endings or compromise, making choices. Typically, full moons are bursting with energy, right? The moon is as full of light as it can be from the sun. This one, remember that it happens with the Mercury retrograde. That does alter the flavor a bit about the full moon. So we have this supercharged Mercury retrograde because of Mars passing by it. Now, they are going to conjunct, and Mercury is going to keep moving backwards and Mars is going to keep moving forwards, but we do have quite a few days where this energy is really boosted and supercharged. So use this time to let your creativity flow through. It's a fire sign. Sagittarius is a fire sign, and all fire signs are associated with creativity and passion and spark. So hopefully, if you have been stuck on anything that has been started, trying to find a solution, trying to figure out, like what's the next step, this Mercury retrograde with Mars may just give you like a lot of insight and a lot of ideas as to what to do. So I hope that you use that time wisely the week of the full moon. So that would be, starting Tuesday. I mean, we're going to be culminating that moon is already big and bright and shiny as we go through this weekend and we get to the full moon. So you'll have all of next week. Many of you will have that week off, and take advantage of sitting down and trying to tap into some of that creativity by reflecting and reviewing and realigning things from the past, things that are already started, things that are, you can pull a project off the shelf if it's been shelved, but if you have, something already going and you're trying to kind of like figure it out or push it forward, then this upcoming week is going to be a good time to do that. A couple of other things to be aware of that are happening at the time of the Cancer full moon. One is that Chiron is going direct. And the other thing to know is that there's a really nice sextile between the moon and Jupiter, and then a trine between the sun and Jupiter. So Chiron is a slow moving asteroid, and it's traveling through the sign of Aries. You may not feel anything by this Chiron going direct, but if you have any placements in your chart in any of the cardinal signs around 15 degrees, and those cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, then you may kind of feel the impact of Chiron. And of course, you really have to synthesize your chart and understand what Chiron is saying in your chart. And if you have placements in those cardinal signs that I just mentioned, then this could be an important time for you. Or if you're at the age of 51, because that's how long it takes Chiron to make a trip all the way through the zodiac, and you will have a Chiron return at age 51. So if you don't have any placements in the middle of a cardinal sign, Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, then you may or may not feel the Chiron going direct. But if you do, and nothing else in your chart is explaining why, or kind of describing what's going on with you, then the Chiron might be the thing to look at. Going into detail on Chiron is outside of the scope of this video, but if that does impact you, it could be a good time for you to do some research on that asteroid Chiron. Chiron is how you spell it. The sextile between the moon and Jupiter and the trine between the sun and Jupiter is a pleasant configuration that's happening at the new moon. And I hope for you, it fosters a time period where you can step away from your typical schedule so you can rest and relax, or spend time doing what you want to do instead of what you have to do, and do some of that Mercury retrograde reflection that I was talking about earlier. And just remember that you really can benefit from doing that. Like 3 times a year usually we have Mercury retrograde, and if you kind of plan for doing that, pause, reflect, and refine, realign, you will find that you get into that groove, and it can be really, really helpful for addressing some of the current themes and topics going on in your life. And of course, looking at your chart and where the Mercury retrograde is will give you more information. Started in Capricorn, now it's in Sagittarius. So look at those 2 houses and look at the topics, themes, and people associated with that house. And it's going to give you more in-depth information as to what's activated in your life. And also, it's the end of the year. So if you take the time to do this reflection and refining and realigning, Mercury is going to go direct right at the beginning of the year. You'll be kind of ready to take off. You'll be ready to move forward all of your priorities. So it syncs up quite nicely. I did want to share with you the dates of the Mercury retrograde, so you have them on your calendar. The pre-shadow period for Mercury retrograde started November 25th. So that's when the entire cycle started, and you may have started slowing down and kind of wrapping things up that are new during the time period of November 25th until December 13th, when Mercury went retrograde. And now Mercury is retrograde until January the 1st. That's when it goes direct. It will travel through those same degrees again as it's moving forward, and it will leave the post-shadow period on January 20th, and that cycle will be completely finished. In terms of the degrees, Mercury went from 8 degrees, 29 minutes of Capricorn back to 22 degrees and 11 minutes of Sagittarius. That's the window where you want to look for in your chart to see if anything was being activated in terms of your own natal placements. The Cancer full moon quote that I have for you this month comes from a Dove chocolate. They have the little quotes on the wrapper. And I just thought this quote was so perfect for the time of the year and the Mercury retrograde, but really it's good for any time. And it goes like this: when life isn't going right, go left. I think that's so cool. The quote was cited from Hylia S. from South Dakota. All right, here's some activity ideas for you to do for the Cancer full moon. I do have a full moon ritual guide, and I'll link to it below. So if you want to do that for the water element of Cancer, I have that ritual written for you. Go with the flow of Mercury retrograde. I've been already talking about that during this video, so that would be my #1 recommendation that you do. Engage in reflection, and through this process you can resolve unfinished relationship issues, you can refine your projects and realign your goals so that you're ready to go in the new year. I highly recommend that you rest and relax if you can carve out the time. And a very Cancerian thing for you to do is to make some comfort food or buy some comfort food that makes you feel nurtured. Cancer is a sentimental sign, and it relates to family and tradition. You may want to make a family recipe. If you have, grandma's recipe for something that you loved as a kid, that would be so nice. Or, pick up food that's in your family's tradition or culture. Anything that has to do with family, culture, sentiment, nurturing, those are all great things to do. It's the holidays, so spend time with those that you love. It may be your family of origin, or it may be family that you've chosen to be your family. Whoever it is, spend time with the people that you love, people who make you feel comforted and nurtured. nurture yourself, take care of yourself. That's so important. And that sometimes it's the thing that gets pushed to the side is self-care. So I would definitely take time to take care of yourself and then put together a self-care plan for the new year, because it is the end of the year and it's the time that we think about, wrapping up one year and going into the next. Which leads me to my next suggestion, which is to do my end of year ritual. I do this every year and I love sharing it in case it can be helpful to you. So what I do is I write a list of things that I achieved in 2023, or a list of things that I'm proud of, my accomplishments. I start there. Then I do a list of things that I'm happy to leave behind. Like, thank goodness that's done. I'm going to leave that in 2023. And then if you wrote goals for 2023, review them. How well did you do? What did you accomplish? What didn't you accomplish? What stays on your list? What gets thrown out of your list? And I would have a list for 2024, but I also keep kind of a longer list of, my long-term vision, and look at those, because sometimes those things change. I had learned Italian on my list for over 10 years. And then I finally started learning Italian, and then I ended up moving to Italy, which is a whole other story. But it just shows you that if you keep track of your long-term vision, you figure out what stays in and what gets tossed out. Because there are other things that I had on my long-term list that eventually I realized I either didn't want it anymore or it didn't make sense. And things change, you evolve, you grow, you adapt. Think about that and look at your long-term vision, because you also want to be sure that if there's something you really want to achieve in your life and it's going to take a long time to do that, you want to keep track year to year if you're actually making progress, because time can slip away. And one day you're kind of like, I've wanted to do this for 10 years and yet I haven't done anything to make that happen. And at the end of the year, if you do this process, it just helps you realign. I mean, it's Mercury retrograde. Use this time to do that. If there's something you really want to do and you're not making progress, this is a time to start figuring out how you're going to do that. How are you going to work in those baby steps, those little things you got to do step by step in order to achieve your long-term vision? Work on that. And then, you write your goals for 2024, you put together a short list of your long-term vision, and then make a vision board. That's how I wrap up my ritual every year. Is after I've written all that down, I look at my goals and I make a vision board so I have a visual to look at, and I actually make it my screensaver so that it's right there. I see it every day. That's an idea for you. It's something I do every year and I find it very, very helpful. Thank you so much for watching this video today. I hope you have a fantastic holiday season. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I am accepting bookings for individual consultations after the new year, and you can do that at my website, LoriBarnesAstrology.com. I will see you next time. Thank you so much. Ciao.